Don't you love it when someone comes along and changes your mind about them? I guess that's why it's important to always keep an open mind. So I always thought that David Goggins was annoying and overbearing and just kind of rude. And I will admit that my exposure to Mr. Goggins has been YouTube shorts shown to me by my teenager and his friends, who's going to carry the boats? And the stories of his seemingly insane physical accomplishments, ultramarathons, breaking bones, records for the most pull-ups done in a day. So my not so favorable opinions were based solely on hearsay and sound bites. Not cool. Fortunately, Andrew Huberman, who's one of my favorite podcasters, had the honor of having David Goggins on his show earlier this year. I listened to this man talk for 2.5 hours in his intense, angry, ranting way, and what I learned was profound and inspiring. I honestly think everyone should listen to it. I always assumed that David Goggins was simply insane. And while I still question the sanity of pushing oneself as far as he does, I now understand how and why he has accomplished so much. And it's not actually insane. In fact, it might just be some of the sanest stuff I have ever heard. So I would say just go listen to the interview. But for those of you who don't have 2.5 hours to listen to David Goggins' rant, here's a quick synopsis. I call it my Aaron's inspiration notes. Number 1. David Goggins accomplishes what he does because he recognizes and accepts that change and taking action is difficult, that it often downright sucks. He sees it, feels it, and does it anyway, and so should we. Number 2, he's willing to fail. In fact, he expects it. That's where he starts. He practices failing at something, he beats himself up, and he keeps going until he doesn't fail anymore. Number 3, he sees willpower as a perishable resource. He knows that if he stops using his willpower, it will erode. So he just keeps using it in different areas of his life, whether it's fitness or work or learning. I think what he's talking about here is maybe more than just willpower, but that's a conversation for another day. Number 4, David Goggins is alarmingly hard on himself. We're talking about self-flogging to a point that would be considered self-abuse by most and is definitely not acceptable in this day and age. But what I heard was actually a man who is willing to be completely honest with himself about his faults, his shortcomings, all the negative things he feels about himself, and he acknowledges all he has done and is capable of doing. His language may offend, but I think we could all practice a little bit more self-honesty and tough love with ourselves. Number 5, David Goggins has an active internal dialogue that is transparent and honest. All that honest self-talk, there's conversations going on in this man's head. He has voices inside that he listens to. They tell him he sucks. They tell him what he needs to do. They tell him what he can accomplish if he does do it. And he gives himself the kudos he deserves. There are dark places in this man and he visits them regularly. They push him to be better. We all need to visit our dark places. We all need to engage in internal dialogue about where we are and what it is we need to do. Number 6, he chooses to listen to the voices inside his head and his body instead of the voices on his social media newsfeed. The man probably doesn't even have a social media newsfeed. He doesn't listen to the gurus. He doesn't listen to the moneymakers. He doesn't listen to the experts. He listens to himself. He called it. We all know what it is we need to do and what we need to do to get to where we want to be. Most people are just not willing to do what it takes. He is willing to do the hard shit, to fail, to be hard on himself, to make choices, and to take action every single day. So listen to the voices inside you because you know what to do. You don't need an expert. That's the 6 things I learned from David Goggins. So thank you, Mr. Goggins. You said some stuff that I did not want to hear, but I know to be true. You have inspired me. And while I still think you might be a little bit bonkers, I appreciate your vulnerability and your willingness to be 100% you. If you're interested in exploring these 6 lessons, here are some journaling prompts that can help you write it out. Number 1, what do you want to change about yourself? Number 2, what about you is keeping you stuck? Number 3, what do you need to do to become who you want to be? Number 4, what will you do to get there? And number 5, will you do the hard shit? I hope this helped. Have a fantastic day.